No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning to everybody. Special shout out to everyone watching on Fight TV, on also our YouTube channel, and of course all of our listeners on our radio affiliates, especially ESPN New Hampshire. Glad to be with you. This is our last show for 2016. We will be back on Monday, January 2nd, so mark that one down. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Fight TV. Check out this show on your handheld. Just go to the Fight TV site. That's www.fite.tv. That's fight.tv/Billy C. Download the app and watch this show on your handheld. It's for free forever if you go to fight.tv/Billy C. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molino, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you still got time. Get yourself a couple of dozen copies and give them out for the holiday, even if you're late, even if it's after the holiday. Just do it. Just say, hey, I'm sorry I'm late. You can get a copy at barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com if you want a signed copy or a personalized copy. Just visit the website, www.billycboxing.com, and go into the book club section. Big year in boxing. I tell you what, I'm looking forward to a couple of big fights that are already scheduled for 2017, and I think 2017 is going to get kicked off with a bang. We got Triple G against Daniel Jacobs, and of course the fight I'm really looking for. Well, I'm looking forward to that, but I'm also looking forward to the heavyweight fight between Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko. That'll be kicking off 2017. Coming up later on the show, we're going to have Alex Pierali join us, give us his thoughts of 2016 and what he expects on 2017. And, of course, Larry Hazard will stop by and give his thoughts as well. But right now, joining me from beautiful, and I'm sure warm, St. Simons Island, Georgia, New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer, Guinness Book World Record holder, pretty damn good pizza maker, and my main man, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Hey, Bill. Good morning to you. How are you up there in the old Northeast?
Freezing my arse off.
I wish you could blow some of that cold down here.
I wish I could, too. You know, I could, because if I could, I certainly would. So, anyway, big thoughts. You know, I got a bunch of emails to read, Sal. We got some news. Miguel Cotto's fighting. I'm real curious to get some thoughts on that. But first and foremost, real quick, let's talk about two big fights that are going to be kicking off 2017, at least in my opinion, way bigger than the Cotto-Kirkland fight. First and foremost, in the middleweight division, Triple G against Daniel Jacobs. People have criticized Triple G for not fighting big names, and you know, my defense has always been, well, they don't want to fight him. Nobody's got the balls to step in the ring with him. Daniel Jacobs has said he was gonna. I honestly didn't think he was gonna step up to the plate, and he proved me wrong. The fight signed, sealed, and delivered. As a matter of fact, they announced that tickets will be going on sale on Christmas Eve, and the cheapest ticket you can get, this fight, in case everyone forgot, will be at Madison Square Garden in New York. The cheapest ticket, the cheap seats, $100. The top dog seats, $1,000, which I think is indicative of the drawing power that not only Triple G has, but Danny Jacobs being in he's from Brooklyn, it's in Madison Square Garden. What's your thoughts on this fight, man?
Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of Danny Jacobs and Triple G, I just want to give a little sidebar if I can. The other night I was out to dinner with Kayla down in St. Augustine. We went to this great restaurant, and I had a text message from one of my good friends. I love the guy. He used to come down here. He came down here a few times on a part of a camera crew. Does big shot movies and all that. And his name is Johnny Mazzoni. You want to say hi to Johnny. But along with Johnny, he started talking to me and asking questions. He said, "Hey, Sal, I'm here with Daniel Jacobs' cut man, Mike Rella." So Mike is a big fan of the show, and he talks, and we started conversing back and forth. It was great. So I just want to say hi to Johnny Mazzoni and Mike Relic, who is the cut man of Daniel Jacobs.
There you go. And I remember getting emails from Captain Rella. That's his handle, I believe. So yeah, good shout out to those. And I had no idea he was Daniel Jacobs' cut man. That's good stuff. It's a small world, isn't it, Sal?
It's a small world after all.
Hey, no singing today. Come on, let's move it along. Let's move it along.
Daniel Jacobs, I am glad that this fight is signed, sealed. Now they just have to deliver. And I'll tell you what, we were talking about this, and Daniel Jacobs has quick hands. He's got a pop in his punch. And as I always say, any given night, you never know what's going to be in one's heart, head, mind, body, soul. And anything could happen in the ring on any given night. So he's got a chance, of course, against anybody, but Daniel Jacobs versus Triple G, if on a level playing field, I'm going to say Triple G. But the intangibles and the variables that come into one's mind, body, and soul and heart, we never know what shows up that night and what's going to be exhibited to us, the fans, and so anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Well,
and it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be a great fight.
I think it's. I'm looking forward to the fight because, as you know, I feel Triple G is really the best fighter out there today.
I mean, it's like Marvin Hagler used to reign the middleweight division. Okay, this is the second rising of the middleweight division, and Triple G's been the reign right there.
Yeah, but pound for pound, I think he's the best out there. And the thing is as we saw this past weekend with B-Hop, fighters age overnight, and Triple G's no spring chicken. And maybe Daniel Jacobs will show that he's no spring chicken. The thing about, first of all, I've said enough about Triple G. Everybody knows my thoughts on Triple G. He does it all well. He can move. He cuts off the ring beautifully, better than anyone I've seen in 25 years. He's very aggressive. He's got pop. He's smart. People tell me, he takes too many punches. He takes punches when he wants to, which I don't agree with. He shouldn't do that. But what Daniel Jacobs brings is hand speed. Daniel Jacobs is extremely fast, and he's got power. There's no question. Yep. I think the bottom line is we're going to see if Daniel Jacobs can hold up to Triple G's punching power. Now, I predict that Daniel Jacobs is going to come out fast and furious, Sal. I think he's going to try. If there is a knock on Triple G, he starts off a little slow. Right. And, Daniel Jacobs jumped all over Sergio Mora in the first fight and, gave us an exciting fight there. And I think that the game plan should take it. Nobody is really taking it to Triple G. Everybody gets in kind of scared, And I think Daniel Jacobs, his best chance of winning is to jump all over Triple G and have Triple G take a step back, which he rarely does. Maybe get him to a place that he's not used to being. Taking a step back, regrouping, going into defensive mode, whatever. That's Jacobs' chance, at least in my opinion. But I'm really looking forward to that fight, as I'm looking forward to the heavyweight fight, Sal. Anthony Joshua taking on Vladimir Klitschko. That ought to be a pretty defining fight for Anthony Joshua. What's your quick thoughts?
I think you're right, 100%. I mean, Joshua, you and I have been watching for years here as his short career has just blossomed. And he is just such a consummate professional who's learning, who's developing, who has the power, who has the punches. He puts together the combinations. So we like Jaden. We like definitely Anthony Joshua. And Klitschko, this could be the passing of the baton, or it could be the resurrection of going out and saying, hey, you know what? I've got one more in me. Let me make a big, big statement. So I think it's a great fight, and you're going to see two powerful punchers in one ring, and it's going to be maybe a battle of attrition and see who could take what and who could outsmart the other guy.
Well-
Because both have some skill that they could do what they can to offset and try to set up the other guy for some good feints and good shots to be taken.
Well, maybe Klitschko ages before our eyes. And
I saw another fighter age before our eyes, but he's older than Klitschko.
Exactly. But the thing I see with this fight is I see that Klitschko, which with the exception of his fight against Kubrat Pulev, he's been a very calculated fighter. He picks and chooses when to press hit the trigger on his bomb of a right hand. And I have a feeling he's going to be waiting for his opportunity against Anthony Joshua. I think the pressure will be on Anthony Joshua to dictate and control the fight, which you can do against Klitschko if you put him in a position where he doesn't feel comfortable letting his right go. So it's going to be interesting. I think the pressure on this fight, even though Klitschko might think it's on him, I think the pressure is really on Anthony Joshua. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Klitschko has got nothing to lose at this point. I think except the fight, but I think this guy. I mean, he's already a legend. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He carried the heavyweight championship belt for years, and now we have Anthony Joshua, who is just in my eyes one of the most fantastic fighters out there, pound for pound. I mean, he's just a great heavyweight. I want to say that he's got power. He's not afraid to fight anybody. He has some boxing ability, and he's well conditioned. So I like the fight. I like it, and I think it's going to be a heck of a display. And like I said, I think it's going to come down to who's going to outlast the other guy, and they're going to be swapping some good punches. I think what is your thoughts on this, Bill? If one guy lands a solid shot on the other, who do you think could take a better punch? I think Klitschko could take a better punch, but Anthony Joshua, we'll see what happens.
Well, Klitschko's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I
think in the most part he doesn't get the credit he deserves from the fans. As far as chins, I think that's a great question. I think if you look at Klitschko's career and his reign as heavyweight champ, the one thing he's done really well and improved on is protecting his chin. His chin was a weak spot. That was his weakness and conditioning, in terms of not shape, but wind. And he improved both of that through, towards this second half of his career, so to speak, the second reign of his title, I would say. And I think that's a really good question, and I don't know the answer because I think Klitschko has prevented fighters from leaning clean shots, and Anthony Joshua probably hasn't progressed in his development to that point yet. He has been down, but I don't know if he's been hit from anyone as hard as he's going to get hit from Klitschko. So that's a great
and
point.
That's it. It might be the battle of the chins, I'll tell you.
One other thing, we got to take a break here, but one other thing I want to mention before we go to break. Miguel Cotto is set to fight James Kirkland on February 25th. Cotto has said again that this is his last year. I don't want to knock Cotto because Cotto has always been a warrior, but Miguel Cotto has turned into a diva these last several years. And quite honestly, this fight does nothing for me. James Kirkland he's been a non-entity in the sport for a while, and what makes this worse is that this is a pay-per-view, and I just don't think that people give a crap. To be honest with you, I'm going to be curious to see how this does in numbers. Real quick, I got about 30 seconds. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not overly excited about this fight. Of course we're going to watch it. That's what we do. But it's a pay-per-view. It should be. I don't know if it should be a pay-per-view. If it is, it should be a $20 pay-per-view. But it's not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how Miguel Cotto can put it together. If he's got another big fight in him, we'll see it that night. But I'm not overly fond of it, and we're going to watch it. But I'd rather watch a couple of other exciting fights. I think we're going to be in store for 2017.
Yeah, real quick. I'm going to go to a break right now, but just to leave you pondering. I told you what the ticket sales were, ticket prices for Triple G Daniel Jacobs. The cheapest at $100, the most expensive at $1,000. Miguel Cotto against James Kirkland, the cheapest one $29, the most expensive $304. Maybe the people that set the ticket prices kind of feel the same way we do. We'll be back.
Yeah, you think?
We'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Don't forget to download the app for Fight TV. That's FITE.TV/Billy C. Download the app. Watch this show on your handheld. What's better than that? Joining me is my man Sal, Rocky Senecola. And Sal, we got a couple of emails, so let's get this party started. This one's from Jesse. Sir. He says, I agree that Hopkins has faced better oppositions than Manny and Floyd. This is in response to me feeling that Bernard Hopkins will, at least in my all-time great pound-for-pound list, finish higher than both Floyd and Manny. He says B-Hop didn't fight any Algiers, Berto-type fighter since the year 2000. Don't see much in Smith. B-Hop looked slow and sloppy. I want to see Smith Jr. against Pascal, Cleverly, Beterbiev, or Barrera next, or maybe even Fonfara. Well, he already beat Fonfara, so that's not happening. He says, I agree with Dax that people are getting too hyped on Smith Jr. I think he's ready for a good fight. I think that his team needs to make sure that they don't jump on something too quick, and then the naysayers will say, oh, see, he was exposed. He says, excellent win for Barrera. He looked good. I would like to see him next against Smith, Beaver, Brown. Okay. He says, what's your thoughts on Louis Neary and Jason Quigley's wins? Do you think Jason is ready for Mora, Rosado, Antoine Douglas, Joshua Falco? Yeah, I do. I think he's ready. Lot of things going on for these guys. Thanks for the email, Jesse. We got another one from Brett, Sal, and this one, my man Brett from Canada. And before I read this, I want to thank Brett. Yesterday, I come home, and in the mail is a Christmas card from my man Brett and his family, which I love his family. But the best part was that they thought of me. But they throw in some chocolate that they know I love, man. There's this chocolate place.
That's great.
There's a chocolate place right near where where Brett and his family live in Kitchener, Ontario. And they had sent them to me once before, and I went crazy over it. When I opened it up and I saw that he sent, and my favorite flavor too. Thank you very much, Brett, and your beautiful family. I appreciate you guys thinking of us. Anyway, he says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, I read 2017 is going to be the last chapter in Miguel Cotto's career. After he fights Kirkland, he'll be interesting to see if he fights 1 or 2 more times before he hangs up the gloves. If he keeps acting like a diva, I hate to say, but I hope he does retire after Kirkland fight. That sure isn't what boxing needs right now. He says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to Billy C., Sal, Dax, Alex, Larry, and everyone behind the scenes that I don't know about. He says, I can't wait to hear about the new format in 2017. Enjoy the holiday season. I agree with Brett. Miguel Cotto's got to do something. Otherwise, why drag it on? And thank you very much for thinking of all of us, Brett.
Yes.
What a class act, Brett and his family.
Class act across the board right there. Beautiful.
And I've always loved his wife. But anyway, I got another email This one's from my man Chase. He says, "Hey Billy C, if you get the time, it'd be fun to hear what you and Sal think who would have won a fantasy matchup between a 1988 version of Mike Tyson against a 1992 version of Riddick Bowe." He says, "What a fight that would have been." I love the show. Thanks for the email, Chase. Listen, I liked both fights. I loved Mike Tyson and Riddick Bowe. Great question, Sal. I think the 1988 version of Mike Tyson, I think any heavyweight would have had a hard time beating that version of Mike Tyson. I mean, he was unbeatable, it seemed, invincible, if you will. I would have went with my man Tyson. What do you think?
Probably would have gone with Tyson too, because Tyson used to have he was in his zone especially when he went against a bigger heavyweight, and his lateral movement, his head movement, his explosive power, the leverage he'd get from punching from a crouch position. Let me tell you, Tyson in that early stage of where he was there in the late 80s, he was unbeatable, and he won half those fights by intimidating and scaring the hell out of his opponents. They were beaten before the damn bell rang.
Riddick Bowe was a talented fighter. He was big, strong, was fast.
Great
it's a shame that he didn't continue. He had some bad management, and anyway, it would have been a great fight for us to see.
But definitely would have been a great.
Two more emails I want to get out of the way here in the next minute or two. The first one's from Angel from Madison, Wisconsin. He says, "Hola, Senor C. PEDs in boxing is a common theme. It seems like it's not going to go away. In boxing, boxers have found ways to cycle on and off, and there's no universal standard due to the state and commission rules. I think testing will always be a step behind, and it seems like there'll always be ways for fighters to get around the testing. And can testing really be trusted? Corruption can also infiltrate PED testing companies, and it has happened during the past, including this past Olympics." I think that's the best point. Thanks for the email, Angel. That if you're paying the company, I don't know, man. It's a touchy subject, Sal. What do you think?
Well, it is. It is. And the PEDs, it's I don't know. I'm not into it, and I never was. Like I said, I'm not going to plug the book I trained with. But they had what you could legally take as far as vitamin supplements and why they may work and help you maximize your God-given ability. I have no problem with that, and those things are legal and things. But the other stuff, I'm really adamant, Bill. You know that I don't like anything that's going to give somebody a competitive edge, but it's illegal and it's not what you should be doing.
People have been cheating the whole time.
Yeah, they have.
I got one last.
About it,
I got one last email. This is from Dan. He says, "Hey Billy C, I think you're being too hard on Deontay Wilder." He says, "I'm not a big Wilder fan, but objectively, he has a better resume than Anthony Joshua. Wilder was willing to go to Russia to take on Povetkin before Povetkin failed his drug test. How does that qualify him as a ducker? You were complaining about him facing Joe Parker, yet Joe Parker is far better than anyone Joshua has faced to date. Joshua may pass your eyeball test, but until he faces Klitschko, he hasn't fought a single quality opponent. That includes his title fight, which was a farce. Even if he does beat Klitschko, he still won't be the linear champ. That'll still be Tyson Fury. I get that you like AJ's skills, but until he faces and beats a top heavyweight, he hasn't earned the accolades you're giving him. I know that you don't like Wilder's antics, but that doesn't change the facts. He doesn't need to prove himself against AJ. It's the other way around." I appreciate the email from Dan, but I totally disagree. First of all, Anthony Joshua does have a better resume than Deontay Wilder. Let's just take a look at it, Sal. First and foremost, right now, the computer ranks Anthony Joshua at number 2 in the world. Billy C. Boxing Rankings has him at number 3. Deontay Wilder, the computer ranks him at number 3. Billy C. Boxing Rankings has him at number 5. So based on statistics, who fought who they fought, et cetera, the computer has Anthony Joshua better. If you take a look at what they got coming up, Anthony Joshua is facing Vladimir Klitschko next, who's a former world champion who dominated division for years and is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Deontay Wilder's next fight in February, Andres Warzak. He's ranked at number 29 by the computer. We got him at number 35. Non-entity, typical of Deontay Wilder. Speaking of Deontay Wilder, you look at his resume, and he in his first 3 years of his career, because that's as long as Anthony Joshua has fought. Deontay Wilder's career started at 2008, and it's went through 2016. He's got 8 years under his belt. Anthony Joshua started in 2013 to now, 3 years. So if you take a look at the first 3 years, Anthony Joshua is 18-0 with 18 knockouts. Deontay Wilder, his first year, 3 years, 20-0 with 20 knockouts. Sounds impressive, but when you look at those fighters, there's nobody on the list. He's even fought Owen Beck, who should not even be allowed to fight. The guy is one step away from brain dead. It's very sad that he even got okay to fight in Alabama, of course. When you look at Anthony Joshua's 3 years, all of those fighters that he's fought are on his resume. Big names, in my opinion. He had wins early on against Matt Skelton, who may not look like a tough fighter when he fought him at 28-8, but he was a tough journeyman out of England. He also fought and beat Denis Bakatov. He's got wins over Kevin Johnson, and let me just say this: Kevin Johnson was a big top contender at the time, and he also was never stopped. Anthony Joshua stopped him for the first time in his career. He also has a win over Dillian White, who only has one loss, and that's against Anthony Joshua. Of course, he beat Charles Martin for the world title. That wasn't his fault that Charles Martin was handed that title, but he won the title nonetheless. And he also beat Dominic Brazil, who was a highly touted top contender who was undefeated. Deontay Wilder would not fight. And in his last fight, of course, Eric Molina. When you take a look at Deontay Wilder, what do you see? You see basically Berman Staverne's name, who I give him credit for winning because he won the title. But Berman Staverne had 2 wins against Chris Arreola as his only reputable wins. Chris Arreola also fought Deontay Wilder. So Deontay Wilder fights Berman Staverne, then fights the guy that we're giving him credit for being good against and beats him. His best fight to date, in my opinion, I'm giving him the credit for Staverne, but aside from that, the best fight to date is Artur Spitska. Spitska was the best win. He knocked him out in 9. And by the way, he had the Malik Scott fight and the Audley Harrison fight, which people could argue and say they were good fighters, but they were both fixed fights. Give me a break. Go watch them again. The Malik Scott fight, Malik Scott was looking for a soft spot to lay down from the opening bell and did it quick. And as far as Audley Harrison, excuse me, that was a joke. Audley Harrison was there for the payday. And if you take a look at their similar opponents, in Eric Molina, the only decent opponent that they both faced, Anthony Joshua beat him in 3 rounds. It took 9 for Deontay Wilder to beat him. So, in my opinion, Sal, Anthony Joshua has fought way tougher opposition, and all you got to do is look at what's on deck for the 2 fighters next. Anthony Joshua picking Vladimir Klitschko, and Deontay Wilder picking a non-entity once again in Andrzej Wawrzyk. What's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are exactly what you just said. And I want to see, maybe by the end of 2017, maybe we'll be lucky enough to see Wilder fight either Joshua or Klitschko. That would be a great little trilogy right there. Round robin.
The thing is that this guy, Dan...
Fans should want that.
Well, Dan is criticizing me for criticizing Wilder. But and the truth of the matter is Klitschko... why didn't Wilder fight Klitschko? Why didn't Wilder go after Tyson Fury? Why didn't Wilder go after Luis Ortiz when he had the belt? He didn't even want to fight Pulov. And yes, I was critical of him possibly fighting Joe Parker, but he didn't fight him. Joe Parker's even a better fighter. Deontay Wilder, no disrespect to the man, but as far as his boxing career, he's a fraud. Everybody will see this. He will beat his Wawrzyk in his next fight, pound his chest, tell everybody that he's the best. But let me tell you, Anthony Joshua will destroy Deontay Wilder. Vladimir Klitschko will destroy Deontay Wilder. Pulev, Parker, all these other guys. Deontay Wilder is one-dimensional. I'm sorry. I can't wait for him.
You said it. It's inherent in this game. I mean, you have a fighter, you promote a fighter, you manage a fighter, and you're a commodity. And, everybody on the Deontay Wilder wants to ride the train as long as possible. So what do? They do what they can get away with and what they can manipulate, what they can pull in the strings, and, and that's what happens. And Deontay Wilder, maybe he thinks he's as good as he believes, but the bottom line is he's got to show and got to stuff it. Maybe some of these things is not his fault entirely because, like I said, maybe it's his promotional team, it's his management team. They're looking to promote, to protect.
No, protect.
Elongate any career to get on the money train.
That's what they're looking to do. Protect. Because the insiders know
their insurance policy
they know that he's a fraud. They know it. Everybody knows it but Deontay. And I feel bad for him. And you know what? Deontay Wilder, I'm sorry, but the best active heavyweight right now, as of today, is Anthony Joshua. That's my opinion.
I agree with you.
Sal,
I agree with you.
We got to take a break. I'm going to be bringing Larry Hazard on. I will get back to you, so if you can, stick around, and I got some more questions for you a little bit later, all right?
I'll be here, buddy, my best, and I'll listen to the show, and thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right, we'll get Sal back on in a few minutes. Right now, I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, we're scheduled to have Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard join us.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget to download the app. It's for free to watch this show on your handheld. Just go to fight.tv. That's FITE.tv/Billy C. Download the app for free forever and watch the show right there on your handheld whenever you want. Plus the other combat sports shows that are on Fight TV, so we're glad to be part of that. Speaking of being part of, joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, my man Larry Hazard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, good morning, Billy.
How you making out, my man?
Hey, couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
It's better than It's better than B-Hop's making out. We've talked about fighters aging before our eyes, even though we all knew that he was no spring chicken at 52. He just seemed it wasn't his time. He pushed the envelope too far, and I think that no disrespect to Joe Smith Jr., but Joe Smith Jr. one-dimensional fighter. Bernard just it just looked to me like his mind was trying to get his body to do stuff and his body just wasn't responding. What's your total thoughts on the fight?
Well, it wasn't the old Bernard Hopkins that we expected. As you know, last week we talked about. I really thought that we might see another miracle, but hey, no discredit to Joe Smith, who, like you say, is a one-dimensional fighter. He came through. But I did see signs as the fight was progressing. I do believe that I began to see signs that Bernard was beginning to figure things out a little bit. But, what usually happens is that those reflexes, just don't kick in like they should. And, Father Time has never lost a battle. And once again, Father Time won out. But I did see signs, as the fight was progressing. That right hand started finding its way home. Bernard, his undoing was one of his, at one point, was one of his strong points. How Bernard used to lure these guys toward the ropes and use his trickery, but he got into an exchange, and I think that his reflexes just abandoned him, and he got caught. And the one thing that you cannot do is get caught against a puncher, because that's the saving grace for all punchers. That's what gives them a chance, even against the great ones. You always have a puncher always has what we call a puncher's chance, and that's what happened.
Not that Bernard was not that Bernard was known for punching power, but he had nothing on his punches Saturday night. It just seemed that when he was landing, because he was landing some flush with some of his counter punching, but there was no mustard on him, and I think everything left Bernard that night, and I would 100% be shocked if we ever see him in the ring again. He's got too much going on. I do believe that was his last fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was his last, because the one thing I think that we all can agree on with Bernard Hopkins is that he's not a stupid person. He's not, and he cares about his health. And I think that when he really looks at the replay, if he brings himself around, because Bernard was trying to find a way, to find a little bit of an excuse that he thought he was pushed, but he wasn't pushed. It was all punches. That final left hook that caught him, that set him on his, I was very, very afraid the way he went out of the ring, that he didn't land on the back of his neck. So fortunately for him, he didn't. And but I think that Bernard sees the handwriting, and he, like you said, he's got so much going for him now, that he can ride off into the sunset with Golden Boy. Then he does his commentary with HBO. I certainly enjoy listening to him more than I do some of the other guys, there who I think talk too much, and so he's got a lot going for him, and good luck to him. He's been a great part of our great sport of boxing.
One other thing I want to ask you about that fight card, before I ask you a couple other things, is there was the WBO Cruiserweight champion, Alexander Usyk, and he stopped Fabrizio Mchunu in that fight. I mean, that's not a big deal, but what I wanted to ask you is that, Usyk claimed and has been very adamant about moving up to heavyweight. And what I saw, Larry, is a guy that should stay right at the cruiserweight division, because I don't think he's big enough for the heavyweights today. I don't think he could put on enough weight to be a legitimate contender. And quite honestly, he didn't exactly dominate Mchunu. That would have suggested that, there's nobody left for him in the cruiserweight division. I mean, it took 9 rounds. No discredit to Mchunu, who's kind of a crafty fighter in his own right. But I understand that the money is in the heavyweight division. But when will these guys decide to stay in their division that they should be in? I mean, Usyk could do very well in the cruiserweight division. Maybe it's what we need, a couple of bigger names. What's your thoughts about him saying he's going to abandon the cruiserweight division and move into the heavyweights?
Well, I thought the same thing when he talked about moving to heavyweight. I'm like, well, why don't you just stay right there in the cruiserweight division and make your, establish your legacy right there. Bring some excitement to that division, because he seems to be. I like these fighters that seem to fit right into the weight class. You heard me say many times about a fighter like Kovalev, how he fits right into that weight class. This kid, this Joe Smith, he fits right in that weight class. They have the length, they have that body, that ectomorphic body makeup, that linear frame. They got that Bob Foster, Michael Spinks, body type, that tall, that reach, and they seem to possess that mysterious power that we don't know where it comes from in those weight classes. And when he said that, I was thinking the same thing. Going up to heavyweight, it's not like, you're going to be the big challenge to him, because he certainly doesn't seem like he can do anything, with some of the, with some of the guys that are really campaigning real strong in the heavyweight division. I mean, he's no competition for Joshua, at this point, or I don't see him being able to challenge a guy like Joshua anytime in the future. Even Wilder. I don't think that he's even at Wilder's level, or nowhere in the near future at Wilder's level. And I think that his big opportunity would be to stay right there in the cruiserweight division and bring some excitement there, because I think that he could be the guy to do that, and he could bring, some bigger paydays to that division. And that's where a lot of these guys, and I agree with you on that, Billy, a lot of these guys make the mistake of, they're going to move to another weight class, and they're going to do, and they get knocked out and they get their careers ruined. Yep. When if they stayed right in the weight class where they belong and campaigned there, their careers might be a bit more successful. I'm in total agreement with you.
Yeah, I mean, the heavyweights today, like you mentioned, Joshua and Deontay Wilder and Klitschko, if you want to throw him in the mix, and Luis Ortiz. I mean, these guys are way too big for him, and yes. and if he dazzled us, great choice of words that you use. If he dazzled us with a great performance against Mchunu, where he just showed us, hey, listen, I'm in a different league than this guy, then maybe he has an argument. But he didn't. He looked very ordinary. And, I look at the cruiserweight division and I see, some decent fights for him. I mean, Captain Huck, Marco Captain Huck is one guy that pops into my head that would be a good match, Right. So, hopefully. But anyway, some other news I wanted to get your thoughts on. And by the way, this is our last show until after we come back Monday, January 2nd. So we won't see you for another week. But Triple G and Daniel Jacobs was announced. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. I actually thought that maybe Jacobs would pull out at some point, but their tickets are going on sale. They're promoting
Christmas
it
Eve.
hot and heavy.
Christmas
Yeah, I love this fight, and I give Daniel Jacobs a lot of credit. I as you know, Larry, I think Triple G is probably the best fighter pound for pound active today. He does everything well. And when I look at Jacobs, I see a talented guy. He's got hand speed. He's got punching power. But he doesn't have the ring generalship that Triple G has. And he certainly doesn't have the chin Triple G has. But I think if Daniel Jacobs' game plan was to come out and start fast and furious, maybe catch Triple G off guard, because Triple G does start a little slow, he's got a puncher's chance, like you mentioned earlier. What's your thoughts on this fight, and how do you see it going? I mean, we got plenty of time to talk about it, but I'm curious, out of the gate, from the announcement today, what's your thoughts on this fight?
Well, I think that it's the next most exciting fight that we can anticipate, happening. Daniel Jacobs, of course, terrific, fantastic story that comes with this kid's life, overcoming cancer and everything else. Certainly, that brings a whole host of support for him. And certainly he has won me over to a degree, just by the fact that he certainly is not going in there afraid. He's saying he's going to bring all the belts back to Brooklyn. I like it when guys talk like that. And he is thus far proven himself to be a worthy challenger. My thoughts on Triple G. I think that Triple G is probably, if not pound for pound, the best fighter in boxing. Him and Chocolatito, Roman Gonzalez, I think those two are neck and neck for that pound for pound. But I think that Daniel Jacobs will be a formidable foe against Triple G. And like you said, if he gets off fast, and if he's able to exercise a reasonable amount of ring generalship, I think he can test. I think he can really test Triple G going in. And who knows, anytime, he has a little bit of a pop, Billy. He can punch. So, I'm always leery of punches. I always give them a chance when they go in, even against fighters who I think have a tremendous, advantage over them. I always give a puncher a chance because, all it takes is one shot, man, and it can turn a fight totally around. Yeah. So it's an exciting fight. I think it's worthy of pay-per-view ranking, and so we'll see. But I do believe that he has a very heavy task in front of him, in beating Triple G.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
And you make a great point about Roman Gonzalez, because, when you look at Roman Gonzalez and you look at his resume, and Triple G, I'm not going to fault because nobody wants to get in the ring with him. But Roman Gonzalez, one of the knocks I have on certain fighters that pound their chest, they don't challenge themselves. And Roman Gonzalez is a guy, all you got to do is look at his resume, and every fight seems to be a challenge over the last couple of years, So I you're right about that. I mean, he's number one probably, and Triple G's number two pound for pound. But speaking of pay-per-view, Miguel Cotto against James Kirkland was signed, sealed, and delivered for February 25th. I'm not excited about the fight at all. I mean, James Kirkland has been a non-entity in the sport for a while now. Miguel Cotto has become the biggest diva aside from Andre Ward. But the most disheartening aspect is it's a pay-per-view. I mean,
pay-per-view.
Am I missing something? Did I fall asleep and miss that there's a high demand for Miguel Cotto against Kirkland to justify it being a pay-per-view? What's your thoughts?
Unbelievable stuff, man. Every time, you notice I always mention pay-per-view, and since we've been doing our talk show, I'm sure you know by now how I feel about today's fighters as it relates to pay-per-view. There are very few fights out there today. I don't care. You give me any matchup that you can throw at me, okay? There are very few that I consider pay-per-view. And you know we've been talking about this for a long time, as compared to what we have always known as pay-per-view fights. And the pay-per-view fights that I've paid for gladly in years past as compared to today's fighters. And I mean the fighters of this generation. And for Miguel, Cotto, and Kirkland, for real? Are you kidding me? I would be surprised if there are fans out there who even know who Kirkland is.
Exactly.
Believe it or not.
I know. You know more about when he was trained by Ann Wolfe. You know more about her than you do about him. Well, look, check this out. And I never, this is something I very rarely do, Larry. I never talk about ticket sales and prices and stuff like that because I never want to promote something that nobody's throwing anything my way for. But if you look at the Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight, the cheap seats are $100. The max price is $1,000. That's at Madison Square Garden, which is a pretty big venue. Now, Kirkland Cotto, or I should say Cotto Kirkland, they're fighting in Texas at a fairly big place at the Ford Center. Low ticket price $29. The top price $304. So the people making the ticket prices, I think they think what we're thinking.
Yeah. And before it's over, Billy, they'll be giving tickets away.
I know. That you know who really the draw is Kirkland because he's out of Texas. Cotto. I'm surprised that they even went there. Obviously, Jerry Jones must have thrown them some money, but in any event, hey Larry, this year is ended pretty quickly. I want to thank you for all your involvement with the show. And like I said, we're going to be off all next week, so we'll be back after the new year. But you guys are kicking off 2017. I mean that you guys, the state of New Jersey, you got a Showtime triple header in Atlantic City. I hope Atlantic City comes back. You think this is the beginning of good things to come for 2017 for New Jersey boxing?
Well, Billy, every time we talk about comebacks in New Jersey, I have to say it with tongue in cheek. I came back to my second tenure, as you know, in 2014. So I haven't, it hasn't even been 3 years yet. I've been in the trenches, man. You know what I've been doing to try to revitalize boxing, at least from an administrative perspective here in New Jersey. And it's been a roller coaster. When I came back, I thought that the Hopkins-Kovalev fight was going to really kick things off. As you can recall, that was at Boardwalk Hall. Then we started getting several PBC fights, here. And I said, oh, man, it's really going. A lot of the promoters who have been driven out of the state for whatever the reason, they started coming back when I returned. Okay. And so, then, I had 9 shows canceled, 5 that were scheduled for the Taj Mahal because it closed. Then, so you get these cancellations, you get your hopes up. I really, really hope that maybe now Caesars in Atlantic City, who I'm sure is involved with this Showbox show because it's going to be at Bally's, which is a part of Caesars property. I hope that that's a sign that Caesars and Ken Condon, who have really underwritten and sponsored and, brought in the big fights of the past, are finally getting back into the business. So I'm always hopeful. You have to go about this business with an air of optimism and hope, and you work towards, trying to get things back to the way it was. I'm certain that it will never be like it once was because, I was here during the glory years, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, you know, as a referee and as a commissioner. So I know what it once was like in Atlantic City. I really don't think it'll ever reach that point again. But I do think, and I am hoping, that we at least get back to the level of respectability where we can at least, you know, be recognized as a major venue once again for the big-time bouts. So I'm looking forward to that in 2017.
I certainly hope so, man, and I hope if they give you the chance, there's nobody better that can make it all happen than you, my man. So, hey, listen, I want to wish you and your family a very happy holiday, and I look forward to your input when we come back in 2017. I can't even believe it. Where are the Jetsons when you're looking for them? 2017, you know. But
well, Billy, I wish the same to you and your family and to all of our listeners. And you know, in about another week or so, we'll all be another year older, huh? That's what we have to look at.
No, not they all will be. They all will be, not you and I. We're going the opposite way, right? We're going. Well, listen, my man, you have a great one. Stay warm, and we'll talk to you next year.
Okay, Billy, you do the same.
All right, my man. Take care.
Okay.
That's Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Fame, New Jersey athletic commissioner, and my main man. But anyway, hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. But, you know, before I go, I just want to leave you guys with this. You know, we used to do these Christmas cards. We used to send out these Christmas cards. And I threw a couple into my man, Sal, Rocky Senecola, and he loved it. He was busting my chops. He says, you got to play one. I'm going to play my personal favorite. This is from way back in 2008. So this was a card I sent out to all of our listeners at the time. We did these every year. So check this out. There it was, the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a friggin' mouse. The boxing gloves were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that fat guy in a red suit would soon be there. All three kids, Sonny, Mike, and Rocky, were all snug in their beds, with visions of Sugar Ray Robinson dancing in their heads. With the old lady dressed in, actually I forget what she had on, but I was in these feety pajamas and a cool-looking cap. And we both got under the covers for, you know, a little nap. When all of a sudden there was this friggin' noise. It sounded like Ernie Shavers pounding a heavy bag. The walls, they started creaking and cracking and created such a clatter that I jumped out of the sack to see what was the matter. I tripped over a dumbbell and on the way down got tangled up in a jump rope. I was up at the count of 3, then stumbled over to the window. In kind of a flash, I had to move all the hand wraps out of the way and finally was able to throw open the sash. All I wanted to do was see what the hell was going on out there. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to the outdoor boxing ring and all the other objects below, when what to my wondering reattached retina eyes should appear but this big red sled and 8 of them reindeers. There was this little old driver. He looked just like Angelo Dundee. He was so lively and quick that I knew in a 10-second warning signal that it must be that fat guy named St. Nick. Those deers, they were coming in like punches in bunches, but all seemed tame when the fat guy whistled and shouted and he called them by name. Now Johnson, now Burns, now Hitman Hearns, and Sammy Engot. On Ambers, on Liston, on Langford and Jersey Joe Walcott. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As the will-o-wisp danced, and he seemed to fly, and how the greatest himself rose to heights as high as the sky. Up to the housetop, the whole team flew with that big old sled full of boxing stuff and toys and that fat guy in a red suit, too. Then I hear this thud on my roof, and it sounded like a crashing and banging of each one of those deer's hooves. I gotta be honest, as I was turning around, I thought to myself, I hope they don't all take a crap up there. And then down the chimney comes this fat guy in a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes, they were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys and all kinds of boxing stuff he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses. His nose was red as a friggin' cherry. I was thinking he had a few too many scotches, to be honest with you. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and he had a long beard that was as white as the snow. The stump of a stogie he held tight in his teeth, and by the smell of the smoke I could tell he was hanging out with Cheech. He had a tough-looking face and a big but solid-looking belly. But when he saw the top 10 heavyweights of 2008, he laughed and it shook like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump. Okay, he was a fat bastard, but a right jolly old elf, and I had to laugh because in him I saw myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head gave me the feeling I had nothing to dread, so I put down my gun. He didn't say a word and went straight to his work, stacking up presents and filling up the gloves, and then he turned with a jerk. He put his finger on the side of his nose. He gave me a quick nod, and up the chimney he rose. He sprang to the sled, and to his team he gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he flew out of sight, "Billy C. says Merry Christmas to all, and have fun at the fights."
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show, and glad you could be with us. You know, I'm looking at the window here of the studio, and you know, I'm up in the Adirondack Mountains, and it's pretty cold, you know. You know what I just saw? A robin. What the hell are they doing? This guy must be lost or something, man, because robins aren't supposed to be... he's probably not going to make it through the winter, I'll tell you that, unless he's living in my garage or something. Anyway, joining me right now, my man who does a blast from the past every week, which we're not going to do this week, but I want to get his thoughts anyway, because he's my man. Alex Pierali. What's up, Alex?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you doing?
I'm already sick of this winter, you know, and it's been brutal for me already. It's freezing cold, and I don't know. It's not even January yet, you know, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, did this year fly by or what?
Here.
Huh?
We got some snow here now.
Yeah. Well,
it seems like winter, and I think today's the official first day.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that the difference between, you know, a few hours north where you are, you know, north where I am compared to you, is that when the snow falls here, it stays. It doesn't go anywhere until spring, you know. At least down there, it can melt, and you can, you know, get away from the blues a little bit. I don't know. But anyway, the lake is starting to freeze. Lake George is starting to freeze already, which is kind of uncharacteristic. It usually freezes in January, but with these below zero temperatures we've had all week, it's making it quicker. But anyway, Bernard Hopkins looked every bit of 52 on Saturday. What's your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I thought... It was enjoyable, you know, as a good fight. It was sad as a Bernard Hopkins fan. I think the saddest part was not that he lost and that he lost by knockout, but that he couldn't accept it and lobbied very hard for a DQ or a no contest, which it clearly was not. And I thought Max should have been a little more forceful with him in the interview about saying, "Look, Bernard, the replay doesn't show. It was, the replay shows it was clear punches." But I did think that I liked what Coach just said in the chat room, that Father Time lost to Mother Nature. I like that.
Yeah.
That youth. And one thing that Joe Smith was doing really well was, one, he was staying on him, staying very close to him, keeping a lot of pressure on him, which you want to do to a guy who's old. Bernard was able to slow him down a little bit. I thought the 4th and 5th were his best rounds. The 5th definitely was his best round. But I think that it was just, he didn't have enough. And it just seemed, the size difference seemed pretty significant. Bernard seemed older and frailer than we'd seen him last against Kovalev. And I didn't like those. His movement was just odd in those early rounds where he was sort of just taking all these little baby steps. And I thought that Smith did a really good job. You could hear his corner telling him, jab from the shoulder, keep that angle on him. He had a nice angle that he was keeping on Hopkins as he would press him back to the ropes, and it made himself, a little harder to hit. I thought he fought a really good fight, and I do think that, there's no doubt about it that was some of the hardest punches Bernard Hopkins ever been hit with, and it just showed that in our sport, when you get old, it hurts. It's not, you don't have, a game where, maybe you don't get the assists that you usually do, and you don't score the points that you usually do, but you look respectable. No, in our sport, you could be concussed and knocked right out of the ring.
You make a great point. I agree with you about Bernard looking frail. As you age, and I know this personally, the muscle leaves and it becomes, not muscle. And if you still weigh the same, you got more fat on you than you do muscle. And regardless, Bernard Hopkins is in great shape. There's no question about that. And he did look frail. He looked small. His head looked bigger than the rest of his body. And this is a guy that's maintained being in top physical condition for over 20 years. I just think it's over for him. And I'm not going to make an excuse, but here comes the excuse. I would have gotten in, but I twisted my ankle. Bernard had perfected taken advantage of opportunity in the last half a dozen years or so. He's he tried to take advantage of an opportunity this last time too, but I do hope that it is his final fight. That I hope and pray is the case there, Alex. But Triple G,
yeah,
Daniel,
I think it will be, and I think one of the things that you also, when you watch the replay, his ankle didn't really come in contact with anything. So I find it hard to believe that his ankle was affected. I think he hit his head on the cement.
Oh yeah.
And that can't feel good.
No, and it was punches. The replay showed it was, I think, 4 or 5 unanswered punches that all landed. So, but Triple G, Daniel Jacobs is official. I still put an asterisk next to it. I just have this strange feeling that something's going to happen to prolong this. But as of now, it's set for March 18th. Finally, a major fighter in Daniel Jacobs steps up and fights Triple G. And I'm not blaming Triple G at all. This is a guy that clearly wanted the fights, but the fighters didn't want him. So I give a lot of credit to Daniel Jacobs for taking the fight. I know he's making a lot of money in this fight, and I actually give him a puncher's chance. And my thought on this, Alex, is, and I've said it a couple times today, is I think Daniel Jacobs his game plan has to be to come out fast and furious and try and catch Triple G a little flat, a little cold, a little not warmed up. I mean, I think that's his only chance. I think if he comes out for a typical feel-out round, it's gonna be the negative side of the coin for Daniel Jacobs. He's got to start out fast and furious, try to get Triple G to start moving backwards, which I can't recall him ever doing in a fight. But at the end of the night, I see Triple G winning by knockout. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I do think it'll be it's the first time we get to see Golovkin against top ranked middleweight. Oh, there's no doubts about it. I mean, I think he's still. You saw him fight Martin Murray. I mean, I think he's fought guys that are still some of the best that are out there, best that are available. But I think at least Daniel Jacobs has a title. He has the win over Peter Quillen. In which he really looked, he sort of consolidated the titles, and I think that, unfortunately, that is the case, that titles do mean a little something at times, and I think that, if all this means that he sort of goes across the street and beats a top-ranked Heyman fighter, that's significant. And I do think that Daniel Jacobs, I don't know, I think Daniel Jacobs is definitely skilled. I'm not sure he is powerful enough to keep Golovkin off him, but that's what we'll see. I think you could have a point that maybe starting fast could be a good idea, but and he certainly did with Quillen. But I like Golovkin, and I like Golovkin big in that fight. Is it pay-per-view?
Yeah, it's a pay-per-view. And the thing about it is Daniel Jacobs has a lot of pop. And, even though Triple G has let fighters hit him, it's going to be interesting to see, how he handles a powerful punch from a guy with pop like Daniel Jacobs. But the other side of the coin is Daniel Jacobs, his weakest part is his chin. I mean, Sergio Mora dropped him. Sergio Mora, one of the emailers said the other day, I think it was Mike from Michigan, said, comparing Sergio Mora is like getting knocked down by Sergio Mora is like getting knocked down by Paulie Malignaggi. And I although it was funny, it's pretty realistic. So if he can drop Danny Jacobs, what's Triple G going to do? Knock him into the next year or what? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. And one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, boxing in New York was put on hold because of this ridiculous health insurance policy that New York has added. Well, it was reported last week by Ring TV that they finally have an insurance company that has stepped up and is writing the policy for these fights. And the extra cost, in addition to the normal fees that you would have to do for this fight, assuming there's 10 fights on the card, is going to be $17,000 just for the night for that long-term insurance policy for head injury. What's your thoughts?
Wow, that makes it pretty prohibitive for, I think, a lot of promoters. I think it's unfair. Because I think the idea that UFC doesn't need the same type of insurance is a little surprising to me. I think we haven't seen a situation where they've needed it yet, but I think they will. I think this is, this is all in the wake of the Magomed Abdusalamov, tragedy. Boxing, New York boxing is trying to prevent something like that from happening again, and it certainly seems as if they're targeting boxing by making it so making promoters have to get so much insurance. It's almost as if they ban boxing from the state.
They should. If that's what they want to do, they should just do that.
Well, I think they've sort of done it economically, because who can pay that? And that's what I mean, is that it's sort of unfair that they've allowed UFC to can go on when you can get head trauma in very similar ways in UFC.
But the liability, the reason why they got around that, and this is just, I don't even know this for a fact, but it seems from everything I've been told, is that the reason UFC got around it is because the UFC is a league and they absorb any of those possible injuries. It becomes an issue against them solely, not the state, not the commission, etc., or the promoter. So I think that's the loophole that is being evaluated now. So, anyway, Miguel Cotto is fighting again in February against James Kirkland, and it's a pay-per-view. I don't know. I don't feel too good about this fight. I mean, James Kirkland has not even been a name that's been mentioned as a top fighter. Miguel Cotto clearly on the way down. I think what bothers me the most isn't the fact that they're fighting each other, but I think it's the fact that it's a pay-per-view. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the big knock on this fight is that it's pay-per-view. I think it could be pretty entertaining. Cotto, has gotten old, but he's still got enough in the tank left, I think, to beat James Kirkland. Kirkland, there's a report I just saw today that he's supposedly back with Ann Wolf. I think he's pretty much done, but I think with Ann Wolf, he always looks a little better. He might have enough left in the tank to be at least competitive enough to make it fun with Cotto for a few rounds. But, yeah, the idea that it's pay-per-view is ridiculous. I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's not a very... That's one of the less encouraging things that's on the schedule for 2017.
Well, the best two, in my opinion, obviously, is Triple G, Daniel Jacobs, and then, of course, my man Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, the Kickoff 2017. I think there's a lot of pressure on the sport for 2017 to do well because although we did get some great fights this past year, Alex, it's ending, and we even ended strong, theoretically, but there's just no buzz around the sport. And what's your thoughts on that? And what did you find as being the best high spots of 2016 for the sport?
Well, in terms of fights, I think that Orlando Salido versus Francisco Vargas was definitely one of the high spots, high points in terms of fights. But I also think that Leo Santa Cruz and Carl Frampton was another good one, and the fact that they're having a rematch, I think, in February, that's another encouraging thing for 2017. I think the biggest disappointment, at least for me, was the heavyweight division, because we did have. I think it was going to be interesting to see the Tyson Fury versus Vladimir Klitschko rematch, even though it might not have been a fun fight to watch because the first one was so utterly dreadful. It would have answered the question about whether or not Vladimir Klitschko is done. Now we have him in against a better fighter, and if he is done, it's going to hurt him a lot more to be done against Anthony Joshua because Joshua is going to pound on him. Tyson Fury, even though he won, it wasn't all that brutal of a defeat. And so I think that the other thing, that Luis Ortiz has been a disappointment. Alexander Povetkin is just a disgrace. The heavyweights, I think, have been sort of the letdown of the year.
Well, they're not fighting each other. The problem with the heavyweight division, worse than every other, is that they don't fight each other. And they all pound their chest. And I know you were really high on Luis Ortiz. You and I got the opportunity to call one of his early fights, and at times he shows a lot of promise. But he's also he wasn't cutting the ring off in the snooze fest against Malik Scott, and the last fight he did well in, and he gave up his belt, and his interim belt or whatever, and we're waiting to see him in a big fight, and then you got Wilder pounding his chest saying he's the best and he's yet to fight anybody. The division needs an Anthony Joshua, and it seems like Anthony Joshua is fighting the right fights. I mean, he's taking on Klitschko. People are dismissing his level of opposition, but I think for a guy that's only been fighting as a pro for 3 years and he's got 18 fights with 18 coming by knockout, I think when you do compare, like I did earlier in the show, to Deontay Wilder's resume, I think he definitely, clearly has the tougher opposition over the course of his career, especially over a course of 3 years.
Well, and also, I mean, there's no doubt about it. His upcoming schedule is a lot tougher than Deontay Wilder's. I mean, I don't know. I've never even heard of the guy that you mentioned earlier is going to be that they're talking about for Wilder's next opponent. He's been out of the ring a long time from an injury. I mean, he only fought, what was it, in January, where he fought Spilka. He hasn't fought again, I think, this whole year. So I do think that, I'm not too surprised that we're going to see him in a bit of a tune-up, but it's unfortunate. He has a lot of tune-ups, a lot of no-names on his record. It doesn't bode well for him, pounding on his chest as being one of the best in the division to have so many names like that on his ledger. Hopefully we will see him against Anthony Joshua, or at least the winner of Vlad versus Joshua, who I think will be Joshua.
Well, we see a lot of potential fights for Anthony Joshua should he get by Klitschko. I mean, you have Ortiz, you have Dillian White, you have Joseph Parker. I mean, these are all fights that seem doable with the name Anthony Joshua. The guy that doesn't seem interested in fighting the big names is Deontay Wilder. Now, what Deontay Wilder seems to do is they seem to pull out guys that have good records, which backs up what I say about this guy, that he's a fraud and he's a fabricated fighter. When you look at the uneducated, and I mean uneducated in terms of boxing history, when you look at those fans, they're looking at records. They're looking at guys that he's stepping in with impressive records, like his next fighter, who's I think 33-1 or something in Warzik, Andres Warzik. But this guy's fought no one, and it's fabricated, and it's a shame that people buy into that, Alex.
Yeah, it is too bad, but I think that. That's the thing about these days is that, there's a lot of different little pockets of fandom. And as you could have really loyal people who might not be all that knowledgeable, but they can be vocal. One thing that I do think that, the fact that the controversy surrounding it kind of made it a little less palatable. And I think the ratings just show that maybe people weren't as interested as, boxing people, was Kovalev Ward. Even though I do think that the decision should have gone to Kovalev, I don't think that it was as much of a robbery as people played it out to be. I did think that Kovalev certainly deserved the decision, but I thought Kovalev won the decision. I thought he probably won a close fight, a 114-113 or a 115-112 type of fight. That kind of a win, you change 2 rounds, 1 round, and it could go the other way. So I don't think we should be, all that furious about it, even though, yes, we didn't. The guy who I thought won did not get the decision. I thought that Ward definitely won the second half of the fight, and traditionally Vegas likes that more. They like the guy who finishes stronger.
Yeah, but then, but according to this,
we did get a good fight, and we got to see something that I enjoyed. Was we got to see Andre Ward use infighting, which is a forgotten art. You don't see a lot of people doing it the way that he did, and I thought that it was cool that we saw somebody use infighting to really break down a tougher opponent. But like I said, there were some controversies about it.
Well, you're right about the infighting with Andre Ward. I do give him credit, and you're also right about it was a close fight. It could have gone either way. And your statement about Vegas typically likes the fighters that come on strong in the second half of the fight. Well, they had to have scored some early rounds for Andre Ward to win. I think that the overall disapproval of the outcome was the fact that it was very reminiscent of Hagler-Leonard, where, yes, you got to give Andre Ward credit for being competitive, but he didn't do enough to justify the win. I think people would have been happier with a draw, and I think they would have been happier with Kovalev winning, even though it was an extremely close fight. And I agree, it wasn't a robbery per se, but now the title's in the hands of a guy that doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to do the rematch. He's very hard to negotiate with, versus a guy that would have been willing to do a rematch, in 2 months, So I think fighters like Andre Ward and Miguel Cotto are bad for the sport long term. And one last question I wanted to ask you, Alex, and then we got to run. But do you think that 2017 is going to get boxing back on track, or do you think we're heading in the same direction we are right now?
I think I don't know. I mean, I think boxing is not going to be a mainstream sport ever again, not in this country. So I don't think that. I think the things that make it more popular are good matchups and good performances, and I think that there's definitely room for that in 2017. Hope springs eternal, so I certainly hope for the best. It's got to be better than this year, because I thought this year was disappointing in a lot of ways. But I do think that we did see some great performances. For Fighter of the Year, I think, Joe Smith has now made a case for himself. Vasyl Lomachenko has a chance for Fighter of the Year. Terrence Crawford, Andre Ward. I think there's some big names out there that are still enjoyable to watch, and as long as we have stars, people will watch our sport. But I do think that we got to keep making good matchups, and I think the PBC is going to be back. They have a bunch of fights on the schedule, so that's good news. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be the media blitz like we got earlier from them, but like it's on every other channel every week. But they are returning, so that's a good sign. Hopefully, it could be a good year. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't see it being. It's not gonna. There is no boxing resurgence coming. I don't see that.
Yeah, well, I don't either, my man. But listen, you have a great holiday. We'll look forward to returning in 2017, and I'm hoping at least we'll do our part, and this show will continue to move forward, and we're always trying to improve and get better, and we will in 2017. So I'm glad you're part of it, and I'm looking forward to next year, my man.
Well, it's my pleasure, and you have a great holiday as well, and Happy New Year to all the listeners out there. Thanks a lot, Billy C.
All right, brother. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
That's Alex Pierali. You can catch him here every week doing the blast and then some. But anyway, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break, and Sal, I'm going to get Sal back on as we close up the show here. But he wanted me to play this. Well, it's that time of year again. It's Christmas. And last year we had some fun giving you the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C's version of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And thanks to my good friend Mark Muller, he told me I should do a new one every single year. So thanks, Mark, for giving me more work to do. But we decided to come up with another one, and I did. And what I'm going to do right now is the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C's version of the 12 Days of Christmas. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 boxing gloves and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 6th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 7th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 7th Southpaws swinging, 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 8 one-punch knockouts, 7 Southpaws swinging, 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 9 ice-cold scotches, 8 one-punch knockouts, 7 Southpaws swinging, 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 10 promoters who actually promote, 9 ice-cold scotches, 8 one-punch knockouts, 7 Southpaws swinging, 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 11 fighters who'll fight anybody, 10 promoters who actually promote, 9 ice-cold scotches, 8 one-punch knockouts, 7 Southpaws swinging, 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 more major affiliates, 11 fighters who fight anybody, 10 promoters who actually promote, 9 ice-cold scotches, 8 one-punch knockouts, 7 Southpaws swinging, 6 sexy ring-cut girls, 5 solid gold boxing glove chains, 4 ringside seats, 3 competent judges, 2 boxing gloves, and my very own subscription to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody, from all of us at the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C radio show. Scotty Krause, Dave Mo Wilcox, John Robbins, Emily Harney, Marty Mulcahy, Elkie Vivona, Joe Santaliquido, Kieran O'Neill, Mark Abrams, Amy Green, and Mike Parmalee. We want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Ciao.
The Billy C Morning Show will be right back. Boxing Network.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe. On the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I would think.
Palla tagliata, messa fuori, c'è
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C Morning Show, Christmas week. It's our last show of 2016. We will be back with a new and improved Billy C Morning Show on Monday, January 2nd. So make sure you tune in for that. We got a couple of things going on. First and foremost, our Billy C Challenge. I want to thank everybody for being part of that. We will be announcing the winner for December and the year-end winner during the first week in January. So everybody that's still playing the Billy C Challenge, just keep plugging away. It's extremely close. I'm not posting any current standings. We're going to let you all see how things go. It's a slow schedule. And that's one of the things that we may not be carrying on for 2017 is the Billy C Challenge and some other things that we just don't have the personnel to do anymore. I wanted to focus on some other aspects of the show that I'm going to do for 2017, so we'll let that happen. But joining me again is Sal Rocky Senecola. Play guitar. When did you play guitar?
I still do. I have one right behind my couch or sofa in the parlor.
Oh, in the parlor.
I tell you, Billy, my father, God rest his soul, he had a garage sale a couple of years ago before he moved down south, and he sold the old house that we grew up in, and he sold for $5 my original electric guitar and amplifier that I bought when I was a young kid, probably 8 years old, and it was a present, and it was a 2-pickup electric guitar. It looked like the one that David Cassidy used on the Partridge Family. And I used to go in the garage and just play anything I could think of and try, and took a few lessons. I still have an acoustic guitar right now, and I'm going to pick it up again a little bit. And I used to write some songs, but of course you've never heard of them.
Well, I wasn't even going to play that
was great.
our Christmas cards, but after listening to you, I figured I would throw them in there. They've been around. I mean, they were so long. I did them the first one, I guess, 8 years ago, and the funny thing is all the names have changed. I mean, Emily Harney still is with us as soon as her schedule opens up, and I think Alex. I think I mentioned Alex. I think Alex was with us too back then, and also John Robbins writes occasionally for us. But like Dax, I'm shocked that Dax. I thought Dax has been with us forever, to tell you the truth. But I guess it came after that because I didn't have his name on there, which is surprising. Every time I think of the show, Dax has been with us for a long time. But nonetheless, they were fun to do, and they were hard to do. Harder than you think, I'll tell you that.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's a good mission. I'm going to try and write some words. You could plug in whatever you want, and I think you should update it for next year, or whenever you want to release it.
Well, they were out. We had
great.
posted them. We had posted them. I had them up on a podcast. They were out there, but I do have copies. If anybody wants a copy of it, just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, and I will be glad to send it to you. I also have another one that you heard, but I didn't play today. But
I love it. Yeah,
Rocky the flat-nosed heavyweight, right?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, Bill, creativity. You're very, very creative, and it was a neat way to hear how you put some lyrics together and made it all happen. I definitely, I love when you mentioned some of the old greats, Sammy Angot, and, Jersey Joe Walcott.
Yeah, that's
a great one. What a plug!
The funny thing on that one is a lot of fans don't even know who they are.
Well, maybe even Jersey Joe before Sammy Angot, but man, oh man, But you're right. That's a whole several generations ago.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. When I did that one, I thought it would be it, and then everybody, oh, what are you gonna do this year? And I did another one, then another one, and then I was just like, what? I think I only have 3, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. But
and more to come.
Yeah. Sal, as we wrap up the year here, which unbelievable, another year has flown by, and this year, we have a tendency to forget about some of the really good fights that we did get to see this year. And, at times, we're critical of fighters and paths that they take. Most recently, today's show, I'm critical of Deontay Wilder. But I just want everyone to know that I don't mean it in a way that, bottom line is I respect every fighter, whether they have won one fight and lost 100, or never won a fight, or never lost a fight. Because they're pros and because they're out in the front, so to speak, they're subject to criticism, just like you or I would be, and that's the only reason I do it. I don't do it in any other way. I don't want us to be. You and I have talked off the air. I don't want everyone to look at this show as being 100% negativity all the time. It just points out some of the negatives about how really fans are beginning to look at the sport. And really this year, there were a lot of showcase fights, but there was a couple of hell of a good fights. My thought is, can 2017 turn it around? Are we heading in the same direction we are right now? Is what it is? Are we dealing with? Is boxing going to just be the way it is right now? I mean, how do you see it,
Billy? I see it. And you and I, we discuss and we have these conversations, and it's not that there's any real negativity. It's just that we are so passionate about a sport that we love so dear and that we hold so true to our own hearts, and to see some of the angst and some of the growing pains and some of the stumbling of where it is to try and reboot itself and get out of the gate is very frustrating for us. And I was listening, and it hurt to even hear me say from Larry Hazard when he was talking about the heyday, the good old days of Atlantic City. And I was fortunate enough to be in those days. And that's when I fought a lot of my fights in Atlantic City. And had I thought at that time that, wow, this is as good as it's ever gonna get, I mean, Atlantic City, I thought was parallel to Vegas, and it was going to be on an even playing field and sustain that level of intensity and attraction for decades to come. But you know what? Larry was right. I mean, where did it go? What happened? What moves dissipated from the glamour days of what it was all about? And boxing had the heyday. And that's why we may seem a little critical at times, but we're passionate because we love the sport and we hate to see the trickle down effect of where it's going and how it's been. And like I always try and stand up and say, it's just taking a time. It's going to reboot itself. Well, I heard Alex too say, he said some brilliant things too. Is it ever going to reboot itself to a facet where it's going to shine bright and be like the go-to sport in American history? I don't think it's ever going to do that again. But, we're filled with so many things pulling at us today. But I still am passionate. I love the game. And, yeah, nobody's a bum. When you get in a ring, I know we talk about fighters, but guess what? You got the Guglionis to step in a ring, a squared circle, and face an opponent, not knowing if you're going to get your head knocked off or whatever, and you're putting your health and everything else on the line. Guess what? Whatever your motivation is, whether it's a payday, whether it's a world championship belt, whether it's because you have nothing else to do, everybody enters that ring with a dream, and you know what? Or a reason. And, when they leave that ring that night, however they're carried out, walking out, or hand up and hand down, it gives everybody an opportunity to think, what's the next move and what's my next goal. And so boxing, I love it. I'm just crazy about it. I want to be a part of it, and I think we have a lot to do for 2017. I think there's going to be some big fights, and hopefully we can turn a corner, unlike I thought that we were going to see the other night in that fight. But what's your thoughts on it? Do you think boxing is going to give us a nice platform to build on in 2017?
I don't know. I hope so.
I hope so.
But I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on any potential changes you would like to see with this show. So drop us an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. I also want to remind everybody that we will not be doing another show until Monday, January 2nd. We will return same time right here. Don't forget to download your app from Fight TV to watch this show on your handheld on Fight TV. That's FITE.tv /Billy C. I will tell you this. I'm still getting some emails about suggestions for 2017. I will tell you this. We will definitely be doing post-fight shows almost every week. Whenever there's a big fight on or a significant fight, we will be doing post-fight. So that's one of the changes that you will see and enjoy, I hope. And I'm looking for some of your thoughts, so make sure you drop me an email. Sal, I just wanted to thank you for all your input and being part of this show, as I also want to thank everyone else that's involved, my man Dax and Alex and yourself, and of course Larry Hazard and some of the guys that are regulars in the chat room, like Coach and Joel and the people that communicate with us regularly through email, like Jesse and my man Angel from Madison, Wisconsin, and Brad and everybody else that if I forgot you, I didn't mean to. But hey, without the listeners and viewers, we wouldn't be doing this. So we're extremely excited to kick off 2017. And Sal, I just want to say on air, I wish you and your family a happy holiday season. And I look forward to the next year, my man.
Billy, myself as well, and God bless you and your family, and have a healthy, happy, Merry Christmas, and let's get a great new year ahead of us in 2017 to all our fans as well. And thank you for being the brainchild and being behind this Billy C. Talking Boxing special, because you know what? I welcome the opportunity. I thank you for including me with such a great crew and great pool of fans and people that you have invited me to become a part of, and I value that. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, Sal and I will be looking forward to unveiling some plans we have for next year. So I'll leave you guys with this. Make sure you have a safe and happy holiday season and a great new year. And don't forget to tune it in right here on Monday morning, January 2nd, 2017. It's going to be airing the same bat time on the same bat channel. Until then, have a good one, and ciao, baby.